Well, it is 5:30 on my side, South African time. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you are based in the globe. My name is Dorik Sithole, and I will be taking up this first part of the session, focusing really on social sciences and humanities. And also just the topic for today for me is really looking at self-discovery and self-actualization as a humanistic approach to empowering learners. So just to give you a brief idea about who I am, my name is Dorik Sithole. Just like I mentioned, I was born in Zim, but I moved to South Africa just to pursue my higher education. I've been in South Africa since 2005. So literally I can say I have two homes, Zimbabwe and South Africa. I call myself an African diamond, really proud to be born in the African continent, but I'm also passionate about a couple of things. One of them being communications. I am a communications enthusiast, marketing and branding strategist. That's my profession. But also there's something that I started doing once I found my purpose and I started helping individuals unearth the diamond within. So when I'm talking about unearthing the diamond within, it refers to your authentic self, everything packaged in there with your gifts, your talents, and that one thing is the thing that leads you towards your purpose. And I believe that if we all did what we did from a place of purpose, whether it's your work, whether you're in medicine, whether you're teaching in schools, whether you're in the corporate space, you would be able to do that from a place of happiness. Even research says that people who actually work from a place of purpose are a lot more happier than the ones that just do it for the sake of doing it. So I have been coaching for 2 years now. I left the corporate space to pursue my purpose. I'm a consultant and I do enjoy teaching. Training for me is something that I had to embrace when I found my purpose, and the training also was about outcomes-based education. But today, when we discuss this topic, I really want you to be very open-minded about it. I want you to be open-minded in the sense that there is so much that is happening around us, but we all have different views. So I'm going to talk a lot from my own personal experience. And like I said, I am passionate about empowering people, but mostly the youth and women. So just to tell you a brief story about what actually inspired today's topic for me. I studied at Wits University in Johannesburg. And once I was done, it took a while. It was 4 years for me to complete. But literally, when I was done, I thought that my certificate would give me easy access into a job. I thought the fact that I went to Wits University, the name itself, would literally give me open doors and things would be la-di-da, as they always say, but it was not so. I spent 2 years looking for a job. I could not, for the life of me, apply what I had learned for the 4 years at university and apply it when it came to the workplace. You'd go for an interview and someone says, okay, so Dorik, you did media studies. And so tell us, how would you be able to contribute based on what you studied to this organization? And I would go numb because I could not find the link in terms of what I had learned and what I was expected to contribute in the workplace. Now, that's not just my story. That is something that a lot of young people are going through in South Africa. The unemployment rates are extremely high. And while people continue to talk about that, for me, it's let's go back to the foundation. Let's go back to the foundation. Let's look at the foundation. What is missing? What is lacking? I have absolutely no doubt that education is pivotal for us as human beings. There's a lot of knowledge that we need to take in, but I was wondering, and I'm going to ask people who are listening in today to say, what is the one thing that you wish you had learned at university that you picked up on when you started working? What is the one thing that you wish you had learned at university that you picked up on when you started working as a skill that you needed, but you just didn't get it when you were studying? So for me, I wish that someone had asked me while I was at university, while I was at high school, what are you good at? What makes you tick? What is the one thing that if you do it, you are so hyperactive, you do it with passion, you can do it with your eyes closed? I wish somebody had asked me that question. And you know why? Because once you start tapping into your own internal power, your authentic self, your strengths, you're able to show up confidently so. And then I give the example of the workplace because I went for interviews. I had my degree. I had, a certificate that showed that I studied media studies, but I did not conquer those interviews because my confidence really wasn't that high. I had no understanding. So for me, as we talk about this topic today, I really wanted to tap into different theories. You've got theories by Maslow, and Maslow talking about the hierarchy of needs. I'm going to tap into some of the things that he emphasizes there, especially self-actualization, and also talking about experiential learning, taking action and taking in the knowledge, but also aligning what you've learned and saying to yourself, okay, so this is what I did in media studies. How is that relevant with the person that I am today? How is that linked? So I'll give you an example. Doric is an analyst. I love to analyze. And I didn't pay attention to all of those things when I was studying. And literally, I'm turning 40 years next year. And you will not believe how many people I've coached, how many people I've trained who are in their 40s, who are still asking the question, who am I? What are my strengths? And this is the stuff that I'm passionate about because I've done training with people. And for me, it's as we discuss whatever we're discussing today, my hope is that we can be the change that we want to see. Wherever you are located, whatever it is that you're passionate about, have your voice, use it to inspire change wherever you are, whether it's organizational changes that we want to see, because at the end of the day, the truth is, I can take in all the knowledge in the world, but if I cannot align my key strengths, my core, my innermost being, and align those two things and merge them to create an identity that allows me to show up with confidence, because literally, once I found myself in a space where someone asked me that question, Doric, what are your strengths and how are you going to solve the problems that I have in this organization? I took a step back, and that did not happen when I started working. It was a voluntary position that I'd started looking for while I was job hunting. And today for me, I'm celebrating the man who asked me that question, because August is literally 10 years of me working full-time as a marketing professional, because one person gave me an opportunity that asked me the right question. When that question was asked, I went home and I did some introspection. I asked myself, actually, what am I good at? And I realized I like sketching designs. I'm passionate about putting color coordinations together. So today, when I say to you, I'm in marketing and communications, I'm passionate about branding. I know how to bring colors together. I manage graphic designers, because those are skills I started to pick up on because someone asked me that one question: what are you good at? What are your strengths? So if we structure our education, and I would like us to really look at why this is such an important aspect. I know so many people who walk out with degrees. We were all in the same class. And if we happen to apply for the same job, what is the one thing that is going to ensure that Doric is the one who's selected for the job and not the other individual? Now, the question is, we both could be confident individuals. We have a great voice. We have a presence. We look good when we step into a room. But that question still comes back. Why would you be deserving of that job versus the other person? So when Maslow was talking about self-actualization, he was talking about reaching your highest self, knowing that this is my key potential. This is what I have to offer the world. And if we could start from the youngest age, primary school, and I think this topic really bothers me, because in a lot of contexts where parents cannot afford to pay for children going to private schools, they would never have their children getting access to confidence classes, extracurricular activities where they can do ballet. And so you've got those societal challenges that people are faced with. It's economical. If you can't afford to pay for a child to go to a private school, essentially what it means is that your child is going to miss out on a lot of things. So for me, it shouldn't be about the status quo. Education should be something that everyone gets access to, and it should be at the same level. And if there's one thing that should be literally emphasized everywhere, outside the context of making me write an exam to see if I understood media studies when all was said and done, whether I can apply all the theories that I took in within the 4 years of me studying. That is not enough for me to step out into the world confidently so and take up space and say, this is what I represent. My name is Doric Sithole, and I really call myself an African diamond because I am in the business of mining human diamonds, allowing them to unearth their authentic self. I can say that phrase now because I've taken the time to understand who I am. So if people are going to pay money to take their children to school, if people are going to invest in training, even if it's training beyond, that goes beyond universities, the training that happens in the corporate spaces, every time you walk into a room to train, you must ask yourself, how am I going to ensure that every single individual in this room is able to do some type of self-introspection and ask themselves, if Doric is teaching me how to communicate effectively, which is what I do for corporate companies, how do I walk out of here and understand that I need to harness the strength? There are people who can communicate, but they don't have to be loud. They can walk into a room with a particular aura and energy, and they just get there and they say, good morning. And then you've got the extras. The people who walk into a room, they're very charismatic, they're loud, they wear bright colors like Doric is wearing today. And that's just them. And until we get to a point of saying, how do we get individuals to look at a particular training that is outcomes-based, but that comes from a level of transformation. I walk into a training, I must leave that place not as the same person. There has to be some type of impact. And for me, that's where the humanistic approach comes in. Allow yourself to understand that without the humanistic approach, we cannot build robots. I can memorize everything that you gave me, but when it's crunch time, I need to show up as Doric. I can't show up as Doric from Wits University with a degree. And we cannot look back and say, well, I think we still have to change things here and there. Perhaps we could add a different curriculum. So today, this was my message. Let's allow ourselves to ensure that when we are saying we're providing outcomes-based education, let it be the kind of education that transforms people from within, so they can show up confidently so they can be the best version of themselves while everything else is happening, lack of employment, the challenges that are faced, especially here in South Africa. I'm very saddened when I see stats from Stats SA saying that the youth have stopped applying for jobs because they've given up. That for me already is a sign that there's something going on the inside of them that has forced them to give up on job seeking because they feel like they just can't compete. But imagine if you knew that you are unique. Whatever you bring to the table is different. There is nobody else with your DNA. There is nobody else with your fingerprint. There is nobody else who's just like you. You are a diamond. You are unique. And the refinement comes through learning, processes, knowledge enhancement, things that we have to do for ourselves to grow as human beings. So as you sink into this topic today, marinate into this aspect of transformational education, outcomes-based, let the outcome, the first one, should be the fact that you allow me to really understand who I am, what I was created to do, so that I can show up confidently in the world and be able to serve humanity the best way I know how. Thank you so much. And that is what I wanted to discuss for today. And I'm hoping that as you walk away, you will remember the words around self-actualization and self-discovery so that you understand why this is so important. Remember, you're a diamond, and refinement comes through learning, through education, knowledge enhancement, so we can shine the light and touch lives. Thank you.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nurmala Muhammad Adnan from International Islamic University, Malaysia. It is a pleasure to be in this session indeed. My presentation today is about punctuations of equilibrium in Malaysia, higher education, digital transformations, and the way forward. I believe that it really relates to our topic today, which is managing education system for learners empowerment. Okay, for the past few months, I have been actively involved in various digital government programs and also revising curriculum in my department. From this experience, I noticed that a few trends and concerns related to our topic today, which deserve our attentions. Before I go further, let me explain. What does digital transformation in Malaysia education means, yeah, in Malaysian context and perspective. Well, it is actually constitute the process to achieve education revolution 4.0. In this process, we have the source of knowledge and learning, which can be carried out anywhere at any time. Yeah, and also we use the internet as the primary medium for information transfer, extensive use of mobile devices, PCs, and in technically virtual environment. Okay, and then this is the education revolution that Malaysia has experienced: education revolution 1.0, education 2.0, yeah, and then education 3.0, and finally we are here, education 4.0, yeah, and then we also have this what we call pieces in digital transformation, that we are in this digital transformation but not yet there. Yeah, first phase is digitization, we have experienced that, and then we go to digitalization, automate process, streamline process, and we are almost here. But then unfortunately, yeah, we have this COVID-19. But before that, of course, all this transformation, yeah, digital transformation is driven by Malaysian Higher Education Blueprint 2015-2025. You can see that it is, yeah, the digital transformation is top-down approach and quite regulated by the government. Right. In here, we have the outcomes and also enabler. Yeah. From this outcome and enabler, we hope that Malaysia can catch up with industrial revolution, actually. Yeah. That we want to have learned value driven talent. Yeah, this is the crux of what digital transformation is all about. Yeah, right. And then after that, suddenly we have this very unfortunate COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah, in which in this regard, yeah, the punctuations of it creates a punctuations of equilibrium. As you can see the pandemic there. Yeah, we have the transformation. Yeah, we are all out for it, and then suddenly we have this, and we have to reimagine our higher educations, right? Because of course, along with these punctuations of the equilibrium, it gives significant implications to the governance, to the way higher education is conducted or is carried out. Yeah, in which we have to cope in order that we can really make sure we are catching up. Yeah, during the post-pandemic, in the post-pandemic, right? Okay, right, and then here is the what we call it, implications. Yes, some of the implications that from my observation we can get we got from this punctuation in the equilibrium due to COVID-19. Number one is the increase in online learning, which is being hampered by insufficient resources. Yeah, of course, in Malaysia we have West Malaysia and East Malaysia, especially in rural area. East Malaysia, yeah, right, in Sabah and Sarawak, the internet connectivity is extremely poor. So how do we talk about online learning when most of the learning process is being conducted online during the COVID pandemic. Right. Well, number two, not all higher learning institutions have the same level of digital transformation maturity. Right. We realize that especially for private, small private institution, yeah, they don't really have the resources. They don't really have robust online learning management system. Yeah, that provides a challenge to the students, to the student as well as to the staff of the institutions. Number three, well, there is an emerging new course assessment and content methods that reflect the new learning norms. Yeah, that is number three. Number four, the needs for and also reliance on private sector educational trend that determines the format of teaching, educational educational consultations, yeah, a consultant that they are starting to I don't well use the word interview, but they start to involve in determining the formats of the teaching, learning assessment, surveillance, datafication in some higher education institutions. Yeah. And then we also have this increasing competitions of students to enroll in increasing competition, yeah, to enroll in traditional learning system. It is very, very hard for the university that use traditional learning system to get students. Well, one of the reasons perhaps of the the shift in India interest. Yeah, now there are many younger generation in Malaysia, especially, which is quite worrying. They are not interested to pursue study in higher education. They feel that they can earn lots of money from doing this gig in participating gig economy, that they don't feel education is necessary anymore, which is me as a as an is as someone is in the teaching industry, I would say that it is really worrying trends. Yeah, right. And also we have issues with the academic freedoms and autonomy, since most of our lectures, most of our teaching materials, yeah, are freely available online. We have these issues: academic freedom, autonomy, and finally, with regards to inequalities, yeah, it is start to become wider. Well, in Malaysia, right, students, there are significant numbers of students that can't afford good internet connections. They can't subscribe, yeah, they don't have money. So of course the inequalities contributes into widening the inequalities, right? And then we have these from the observations, yeah, it tells us future possible path and the way forward. Well, of course, now we can say that university streamline operations, yeah, can opt for this university streamline operation by transforming service and also teaching service and administrations, yeah, and you get students enrolled in traditional undergraduates and also postgraduate program. As in my university at the moment, next semester, all students, they should be in campus and attending synchronous as well as asynchronous sessions. Yeah, but universities encouraging us to go offline, yeah, to conduct classes as usual, face-to-face class as usual. And then a university also can have this path in which the university drawing closer to industry to collaborate on teaching and also researching. This is another path. And then you also have the next path, which is university may want to expand new market and services and compete at the of new local and global education service provider. Yeah, or they need to come up with, of course, the strategy to do that. Okay, and then university may, the next part, the last part would be university restructure into network that share a digital platform. This can also possible, right? A possible path, right? Right. And my recommendation would be, right, for higher education, for Malaysia, higher Ministry of Malaysia, higher educations, academic staff like me, students, union, private sectors, NGOs, organization like you, yeah, they should look and help to define alternative way that can guide digital transformation in the post-pandemic time. Right, I believe that whatever change we want to initiate, whatever problems that we want to address, it should be within the framework of digital transformations, right? And also, right, to do that, yeah, to do what my recommendations, we need to we need detailed studies on, right? Number one, key actors, public and private universities, companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft in higher educations, yeah, to look at their model, vision, roles, understands or share their models, visions, and role that they could play in these digital transformations. And that we can also do what we call it research on how education technology is being implemented, and what are the realities, yeah, right, in terms of teaching, learning, assessment, as well as administrations. And finally, we need to explore a best practice in terms of regulation for digital transformation, including learning its ethical framework. We need that, right? And I guess my final remark would be, yeah, right. My final remarks would be, we do not want, of course, we do not want our digital, our education to be, higher education to be stagnant or to regress before, like it is before pandemic, yeah. Okay, that's why we need to encourage, look seriously into digital transformations. If we have before this digital transformation before, right, perhaps with COVID-19, we need to relook. Yeah, we need to relook so that it can really empower students. Yeah, and one of the way is definitely through sharing platform like this. Yeah, I think that's all from me. Right, organizer, back to you. Thank you so much.
Okay, folks, I apologize for that technical glitch. I was picking up from the purpose for this presentation. And it was in view of the fourth industrial revolution and the drivers of that revolution, and the smart technology is driving what people are calling the new normal since COVID. But it had been emerging for 10 years before that. And in a session yesterday, I summarized all the things that need to change in an educational institution if you want to implement transformational outcome-based education, which is a system, not a curriculum. If you choose to use transformational OBE, what needs to change in the way you deliver education in your institution? That's what we're looking at here now, because education in terms of futurism is at a tipping point. And you only have to look at the sessions from yesterday to see what's going on around us. And the previous speaker who showed basically that the value of education is being questioned. So I'm going to be looking here, I'm going to propose a process to assist educators to prepare an action plan to implement authentic transformational outcomes-based education. I'm going to show you the components of any existing education system that educational leaders and authorities must be willing and able to change if you accept the option, the solution that transformational outcome-based is offering. There are others. This is one of them. And we believe its time has come because of the technology that is now available. The second thing I'll do is go through the steps that are required for implementation. And if I look away from you, it's because I'm using two screens, not being rude. All right. Thirdly, I will look at what essentials of change management are needed to assist champions of OBE to address the challenges of implementation if you decide to implement this system in your institution. A warning up front. It's not a case of doctoring and tinkering with your existing system. Oh, and put some outcomes on there and let's use group work. No, sir. If you choose to do transformational OBE, the old system goes out. The new system comes in. Yeah. All right. I'm going to jump ahead because we lost some time here. I'm going to jump ahead straight to what are the changes that are needed in a summary to implement outcome-based education in an institution. In every component of the existing education system, these things need to change, starting with the paradigm. Educators at all levels will have to adopt a new, authentic, outcome-based education mindset if you choose to go this route. Leadership will have to lead and manage the operations of an OBE center of learning differently. It will require relevant training and development of school managers and educators at all levels. And I include the managers because they tend to control. So they need to get the mindset as well. Outcomes need to be defined. What people exit your institution with currently will need to be defined differently in terms of the outcomes of outcome-based education. And that was my alarm. My 15 minutes is actually up. So Ramiz, you need to let me know if I must continue.
So you may continue for a few minutes, about 4 to 5 minutes.
All right, I shall continue.
Quickly.
Thank you.
Wrap it up quickly.
The outcomes, in terms of the outcomes, we will need to use principles of authentic outcome-based education creatively and skillfully to formulate future-focused life role performance outcomes of significance. And you'll hear more about that, especially if you tune into Dr. Spady himself, of how to do that. We need to answer the question, what do our graduates need to know, be able to do, and be like in terms of attitude when they leave to pursue their preferred futures? I'm talking about the changes required in the institution, all the components at every level. The learning opportunities we'll need to develop new, integrated, relevant, and meaningful learning activities by designing down from the future-focused outcomes we have defined. What kind of learning opportunities will get us from where the students are now to those outcomes? Learning styles will need to be incorporated and accommodated. We will need to incorporate and accommodate multiple intelligences and different learning styles, all right, in our delivery to enable all OBE learners to succeed. The delivery, the way we deliver education, we will need different operating models to deliver authentic outcome-based education. In terms of modifying and using the available space differently. If you're not going to knock down your building and start again, then look at the space you've got available and think, how can it be used differently? If you're going to build a new institution, then it needs to be designed and constructed differently. New centers of outcome-based education need to be designed and constructed differently. Assessment will need to change. Authentic OBE requires appropriate methods of assessing performance. These can include self-assessment, peer assessment, and obviously expert appraisal. The assessment needs to be valid and actually measure what it is intended to measure. And it should be in the form of ongoing formative assessments that build the learner towards a summative assessment, where it's now, okay, it's either do or die, it's either works or it doesn't. Can you do it? Can't you do it? All right, as a summative assessment. This is not entirely new, because in commercial organizations that conduct performance review and appraisal in the workplace, they are already accustomed to defined outcomes for a particular function. Key performance indicators as the standards that must be met. A review of the demonstrated competence, either the product is produced or the service is delivered to standard. In view of the appraisal part then is, where is it going wrong, so that we can do ongoing learning and development for continuous improvement. The role of the learners needs to be re-examined, because the learners will be expected now to be active, accountable participants in their own education and development towards a desired future, not just sitting there passively absorbing stuff from the teacher. So then the role of the educator will need to be reconsidered. Educators will need to play a different role as facilitators and tutors or coaches who have been assured that beyond reasonable measures to ensure the well-being, health, and safety of everyone in a center of learning, education is not about control. All right, so you'll find me quite controversial, but those are the things that will need to change. And as a last addition, it will make sense that educational institutions either should include a futures faculty or be connected to a reputable futures institute to provide essential information about the future and to update periodically the education that is being offered by that institution. There are two universities in South Africa, Nelson Mandela University and Stellenbosch University, who have futures faculties, who are run by directors who are futurists. And it is their job to scan the trends and mega trends, do planning by scenario planning, and then feed the information into the educators. So, getting to the point of this presentation, I'm going to run through some steps very quickly. And Ramiz, if you would just warn me if I'm running over time, please. Preparing an action plan to implement authentic OBE, should you choose to go this route. This needs to be undertaken collaboratively with all who are affected in each of the components at various levels of the institution, from paradigm through to the role of the educator. And depending on the size of the institution, leaders at various levels could be required to develop more than one related action plan. In other words, do it yours at your level, all right? But having said that, the essential action planning process should be cascaded top down, so that there is only one vision, all right? That is, all the other action plans are working towards in your institution, so that all the action plans are aligned. Then, in doing that, if your costs are considered at each step, your action plan will become your budget for implementing the new system. There, very quickly, and I'm assuming these will be available after the sessions because they are being recorded, you would use an action plan that looks something like that, all right? Using those headings to answer various questions on how to implement this system you've decided to go for. So you give your action plan, give your action plan transformation project a title, give the action plan a number for record keeping, state precisely and concisely at each activity that must be undertaken to implement transformational OBE in your educational institution, give each activity a number and state who's responsible for completing the activity, by when the activity must be completed, the estimated cost of completing the activity, and then state what the output will be when the activity has been completed so that you can monitor and measure it. Once the action plan has been prepared, totaling the estimated costs for each activity will indicate the overall budget for the project. The action plan then becomes the basis on which progress and performance in achieving the implementation of TOBE are reported, measured, monitored, and managed. Then arrange periodic meetings to review progress based on reports submitted regularly by the people who are responsible for completing the various activities. Where there's a delay, it might need training or input to get things back on track. Here we go.
Okay, Mr.
Yes.
Des, your time is up, so you may wrap it up
All right.
in a minute.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to contribute something to this prestigious event. Okay, today I'll talk about the systematic changes necessary in tertiary level of education in Bangladesh. Before sort out a plan, we need to identify the basic problems prevailing in education sector in Bangladesh. Lack of quality education is one of them. There are different government and private colleges and universities that are providing tertiary level education in our country. Most of them are commercial in nature. They are arranging certificates for the students, compromising with the quality of education. The students don't have analytical ability, critical thinking ability, problem solving ability, proper communication ability that any student should have had at this level of education. Even most of them cannot achieve ethical standard after taking certificate. Politicizing the whole activities of education is the other main problems in the country. For a long time, we have prioritized unhealthy politics over education. As a result, the plight of education is going lower with the passage of time. All the good plans are usually sought out for the development of education are partially implemented in practice. Most of them disappear in the tedious circle of irresponsibility and lack of unbiased and fair application of laws. Actually, the development of education process is neglected in this country, so to say. Before we attempt to plan for the education at tertiary level, we must focus on the primary and secondary level first, because some of the causes of lacking quality education at tertiary level lie in the foundation levels. When these are changed, the tertiary level will automatically transform into a hub of quality education. I think so. Humans attain education mainly from two sources. Firstly, from the society, and secondly, from the educational institutions. Unfortunately, both the sources suffer from serious problems in our country. The environment of education is mainly ensured by society itself. When the society is congenial to education, it helps to develop the quality of institutional education. Frankly speaking, the whole gamut of environment in Bangladesh is not at all favorable for ensuring quality education, both at foundational and tertiary level. Most of the teachers are usually busy with private tuition and promote students to memorize miles of study notes. Students are not learning human ethics and values at their foundation levels. As a result, learning has been devoid of unethical activities, corruptions, etc. Students are not learning how to think independently, solve and analyze problems. Even language proficiency and communication skills are problematic issues for them. Teachers have started business with education with the innocent students. Most of the guardians are unaware of their child's education. Once we tackle these problems, tertiary education will be in line with the expected quality. Tertiary level education should mostly be technology based. They should also focus on practical and research based learning, and industry collaboration is also needed. In most of the universities, earning a certificate is the main goal of pursuing education. Instead, learning should be emphasized. Education must have 3 features: viz, life-centric education, work-centric education, profession-based education. And the third one is human virtue awakening education. When education will aim at these 3 features in our country, combining with different ingredients and elements, mainly emphasizing on the environment of this country, we can hope that the country will reap the benefit of having an educated human resources. This will ensure the development of the country, both socially and economically. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. Thank you.
The work of some Iraqi directors and actors who depend on Shakespearean text, and why did they try to depend on these kind of texts instead of many kind of texts which belong to famous playwrights. And then I try to make a connection between the theater class for students in the College of Fine Arts and the drama class in the College of Arts or College of Language, when we have a class or a drama class. So that after making this kind of comparison, then I get a conclusion concerning these 2 points. So that I will start now with the picture of the first picture of my presentation is to our great director and actor, the late actor who is named is Dr. Sami Abdel Hamid, and he was died before. The starting of our theater in Iraq began in 1935. This is there was a time for a director who is named Dr. What we call Haki. He's an artist, Haki Al-Shibli in Iraqi, but Haki Al-Shibli in English. He established the first group and in the Department of Theater in the Fine Arts Institution. Okay, he was directing the first play, which is The Merchant of Venice, and then Julius Caesar. The theater started in Iraq by using or by acting some of Shakespearean plays. And then we have another experience or another examples of Jafar Sa'di directed Julius Caesar also. And then Ibrahim Jalal also directed Othello and Macbeth. After that, Sami Abdel Hamid, he is the first, he's the person who I put his picture in my first slide of presentation, directed Romeo and Juliet in 2012. And Salah Al-Qasab directed Macbeth, The Tempest, King Lear also. But they try to present or to perform these plays in different ways. They try to find to make a kind of what we call it equivalent between some issues which were tackled by Shakespeare. And then we have also Al-Majidi, Khaz'al al-Majidi also, he wrote also Hamlet without Hamlet, the name derived from the play Hamlet, and he has a book which is titled Shakespeare's Hell, which was written in 2017, and it consists of 5 plays which were derived from Shakespearean work: Lady Macbeth and Sidra, Hamlet painted by Meredith, and Romeo and Juliet under the name of Perrin and Tessiba. And then we have why Shakespearean text, or why they depend on Shakespeare text. This is a universal, what we call a universal idea that there is the richness of language of Shakespeare, and it is image, similes, and metaphors. This is about language and the universality of his themes, which encourage director and producers and actors to adapt his works. Besides, his plays are distinguished by its elevated craft and structure. This is an overview point. This is a general point of view about Shakespeare. But why Iraqi directors passionate towards Shakespeare drama? According to Dr. Sami Abdel Hamid, what we call it comment, the appearance of many available translations of Shakespearean plays before the translation of the other famous plays, because in Iraq we have many translated works, or which are which translate Shakespearean plays, and most of Shakespeare plays contain reference to Arab. He wrote a book in relation between Arab and the Arabic societies, or those people who are related to Arabic countries, and how Shakespeare had mentioned them in his works. Besides the flexibility of Shakespearean text and it is openness to different interpretations, we can depend on Shakespearean work, and at the same time we can try to tackle many of our problems. We can use it in our future, in these days. So that this is the difference. This is my, I focus on this. This is the main problem in my presentation, and the main goal: how to maintain or to mix between drama class and the theater class, because we have different colleges. We have a College of Fine Arts, because which students who will be graduated from College of Fine Arts will be actors. Some of them will be directors. Some of them will be critics, so that they have different points of view which are different from students in English department or the Department of English. So that the point is, we should try to adapt the theater class in our drama class. This is the creativity or the newness, the modern way which I dealt with it in my class with my students. So that students' performance, we have in theater class, we have students' performance, but when in drama class, students listening to their teachers reading and lecturing. This is the one, this is according to my society and according to my, to our system, to our educational system. Now we have new ways to teach or to deal with teaching, but I focus on the main issues, okay? Reading and criticism for theater class. While in drama, we have reading, comment, and identify. We will ask our students in the exam, or even in their oral question, when we have oral question for them, we will say, please read something, please give me some comment, please identify who is the speakers and why they use this kind of speech, okay? And in theater class, we have enhancing the sense of creativity, because they have time to create something. And I have experience with the students in the College of Fine Arts, and I saw there is a difference, there are a great difference between these students, the students in College of Arts or in College of Language in the Department of English, and the students in the Fine Arts in theater class. So we have teamwork and engagement activities in the theater class, but in English class, we have individual tasks, okay? And the class is a real stage. The class is a didactic one because students want to learn English language in order to not only to learn the language, but they have another issue. They want to pass the exams in order to get job, in order to graduate it. So that this is also, so that I faced a difficult task as a teacher in this point. And then we have students will be able to empower their abilities and possibilities in the world of education and life. This is according to the theater class. While in students will be able to read, write, listen, and have a bit of time to speak, communicate, or interact. Yeah, this is, it depends on what, because we have a limited time in order to finish the schedule or for their what we call term for the semester or the final exam, so that our time will be limited. So some teachers didn't use activities in their classroom, and especially in the drama class. And then we have encouraging self-confidence and freedom. According to my experience with the students in the theater class, I found them, they are so what we call confident, and they have a great, they are so free to speak, while we can find lack of self-confidence and freedom limitation. And now finally create their own scripts. Some of them try to write some plays, simple, what we call one act, or try to derive their own works from another work, while in a drama class, sometimes stay alone and waiting for passionate students to shake hands. This is one of my metaphor. And they are learning for exam to pass. This is according to, this is my comparison. And I found that I should depend, or I should adapt the theater class in my drama class in order to find some student who will be a good actor, who will be good actors. And in reality, we acted many plays which is related to Shakespeare and also Marlowe, the Elizabethan age, because I used to teach drama in the Elizabethan age. And my conclusion is, in theater class, the focus is on the performance of Shakespearean plays. Iraqi director and playwright expose all of Iraqi's issues under the cloak of Shakespearean's written works. Because some writers, in order to save themselves from the authority, from the political issue, they try to write about political issue under the Shakespearean's works. Okay, they will be saved from many trouble. They will save themselves. And in drama theater, the focus is on reading, writing, and language acquiring. So that some teachers, and they are here, okay, who have encouraged their students to act and learn the language at the same time. Yeah, they try to give their students some time in order to act some, for example, scenes from the plays, and to make their issue, they give their students some hints about, you are responsible to learn language. At the same time, you will act some, for example, scenes in order to what? To acquire the language in a good way. Because when we'll act something, we will learn it in a good way. So that both classes adopted Shakespearean's plays to discuss and explore Iraqi social, economic, and political issues or problems. This is my final conclusion, but at the same time, I will show you our experience with our students, and how when we will ask them to act something, their mission is not only to learn the language, but at the same time, they should try to what? To adapt or to immerse with many artistic works in order to have the creativity, to get something new, or to communicate with each other. By the way, in the classroom, when we try to focus on individuality, or each student will have a task, and we don't give them, each student, will have a task, and no one will try to communicate with the other students, or to make a play, or to make role play, or to be in contact with each other. There is no community, according to my opinion, because learning is a communication. Even in language learning, we cannot learn language alone. We should be in with other people in order to get. Besides, when we will act those some plays or some works, we will cope with the culture or the civilization of the societies that we will read about them. And then this is the College of Language. When I was a teacher in College of Language, I encourage my students to, they have a play which is related to Elizabethan drama. I think this is Dr. Faust's, yes, Dr. Faust's play, and it is so difficult for them to get the point about it. So that some students told, I encourage my students in order to play or to perform the play. And by the way, I have, if you can check the students on the stage, at least 4 of them, they don't have a time, or they don't even given a time to speak. They spent 4 years or 3 years without using the language. So that it is a great time, or this is a kind of opportunity for them to share their, to speak loudly by using the task or the subject from their topics. And this is the other the other activity, which is, I think, directed and supervised by Dr. Huda. She is also a teacher in College of Language, 2019. The title of the play, The Young Shakespeare. She tries to expose many things throughout this play. Also, students are from different levels, from different grades, shared in this or performed some the play with her. So that after that, I'm so grateful to have a time for me as a teacher to help my students, or also to pave the way for them to be good students in language, how to be a good, how to use the language in good way, besides how to be a good actor, because not only how to be a good actor because in order to act in your life, no, because when you will try to perform the play, you will give the time for your friends to understand the play. Because when we'll back the way for students to understand the play, because besides Elizabethan drama, they are so difficult for students to manage. So that when we'll try to act them on the stage and by students, the students will get something, what we call it, which will help them in order to be in contact with each other. Someone will encourage other. There's a kind of competition between them. They will try to be in the level of the students who has a time, or who had a time to be an actor. So that this is a kind of encouragement. And this is my last slide. Our doubt are traitors, which is related to Shakespeare, from his play Measure to Measure, and make us lose the good we often might win by fearing to attempt. So that to attempt is or to do something is the good thing that you will do for yourself or for your other. Don't stop trying, because when you will try, you will do many things good for yourself and for your students, or even your community. And this is the sources that I depend on them. And I want to say thank you so much for your listening. And I hope you get the point, the benefit of my presentation. Thank you so much.